Well, one of the things I've got to do is move this cage as part of my allotment downsizing. And I figure leaving this tarpaulin on is only really asking for trouble, because as the wind picks up, there's a risk that it will rip. I certainly had to fix it a few times last year, and well, it's just going to be an unnecessary problem on a windy day. So I just will get on and move it, and then that way I'm part way prepared. I've got to take a close look at this. I think this structure, if I remember rightly, is pretty much just sat on a wooden base. So I've got to find out where the fixing points are and then just give it a bit of a tug so I can understand what moving it is going to involve. But first things first, get this off. Right, fingers crossed on this. Oh, seem to have got rid of all the fixing points. That tarpaulin probably come in handy at some point. So that can go away. I think I'm going to put that in the polytunnel so that it's dry for when I need it. Right. Okay, let's have a little look in here. Very different with no roof. And lots of fixing points here with these ties, just keeps the wire on. But down at the base, I can't remember. Ah, yes, I've got some screws into the base here which are keeping it fixed. So I'm going to need a pretty hefty screwdriver or my drill to loosen those in the not too distant future. So that's probably what I can do in here. I'm going to clear out all these bits of wood. Every step towards my move is a step well made. So I'm going to start collecting materials just here. I need a good location for putting things together that I might use in the development of the plot. And paving stones is going to be one of those. So that's going to live there. I'm going to gather all the bricks over time and see what need I have for those. And then the other bits and bobs I'll get rid of. So I've also got those bits of wood, and any wood that's really sound is going to be gathered, especially these bits, sort of bits of, well, it's like scaffolding planks. They're quite sound and they may just come in handy for developing beds, because I'm sort of having an idea of, now that I'm going to keep this end bed and not put the shed there, whether in fact I use some of the formed beds that I've got in that side of the plot. So there's the hugelkultur bed, and then there's the big wooden frame underneath the cage that I've just been dealing with, and they could come over here along with the cold frame, and actually I could have another series of raised beds. And I do enjoy gardening in raised beds, so it's just an idea at the moment, but I'm thinking get those sort of things into this area, and that will make a big difference if I decide I am going to put together a raised bed area. Right, get rid of these into the unwanted rocks area. So this mesh wire around here was used as a sort of restraining barrier for keeping the hens into their run, and I'm going to use this wire. I've got a roll of it here because I decided when I made this I wouldn't cut it in case I needed it in the future. That's turning out to have been a good decision, and I'm going to roll it all back up and store it, and then it can be used to create the back of that cage. There we go. I should have a few of these poles coming out of here as well. I mainly used wire. So I'll get on and just strip this down and we'll see where we are. There's an awful lot of grass has grown up the base of this wire, but that's not a problem, that can come out very easily. And then that results in a pretty good roll, which I'll be using. So that too is going to be stored for future projects. I do need to wind that a bit more tightly, but for now it'll do. Right, one more for the materials. Okay, what's next? Well, I won't be needing access to that doorway on a regular basis, so this is going to be the first pavers I'm going to start to move. Put them in that storage area for onward use. I think there's about 4 here, and part of giving this land back is that I'll pretty much need to remove everything that is man-made. I'm going to leave the shed, as you know, but I don't think that'll be anything other than gratefully received. But things like paving stones I'm going to use in my consolidated area, so there's an awful lot of those to move over time. I think that's it. Yep. So let's get this area a little bit clearer. And the next step, I need to take down my football or cricket net, which should come down fairly easily, probably embedded with weeds, to be honest. And then bring my drill over next time to release this cage. Right, I think that's me out of this area for now. Going to move some pots while I'm at it. I know I'm going to go paving stones all down that edge, so I'm going to try and keep any paving stone materials up the front here, so that I've got as little distance to travel as possible. Right, this is the first 3. Got a couple of things to do in the polytunnel this morning, which I'll show you. One of them quite exciting. Get these few bits inside. I'm thinking this tarpaulin might be useful for putting on top of any grass growth in an area that I know where I'm going to remove the grass. But for now, it can go inside. And then I'll put these few things away. I'll show you what I'm up to. So these tomatoes, well, they've lasted until sort of early October, which is amazing really. And there's still, I don't know, half a dozen that I'm gonna pick and take home, and then they're out, and that'll be it. The tomato season is well and truly over. Let's get something to put these in. Aromas seem to be late coming compared to anything else, but I've got to say, it's been a joy to have some tomatoes so late on in the season that are fresh and still juicy. So that's those. I think there's maybe 1 or 2 there, and the rest are a bit shrivelly and losing their turgidity and probably not good for eating. And one or two have got mold on. So that's about it. So I'll strip these down and get them into the barrow. They can go way down into the bottom of the plot, and then I can keep this equipment in here because hopefully I'll be using it next year. So that's what we've got last harvest of tomatoes, early October. So that material that came out of those tomato pots was quite crumbly, still very usable on the plot. Now it might not have a lot of goodness in it, but it's good organic matter. And you might have seen in my earlier videos, I'm sort of gathering all that here because it can certainly be very useful. I mean, for example, if I'm going to make some raised beds or move some raised beds around, then it's a good base material on which to put better quality. And this here compost has pretty much been that sort of material, and it's just really good. And the worms are getting back in it, and the more they do that, the more it will be nourished and made good for other purposes and feed the plants. So I'm just going to put this on top of it, tidy it up a bit and cover it back over, and that'll make good use of it. It's still sort of clumped together where the roots are holding it, but to be honest, it's good stuff. Can't be wasted. Right, just put the cover straight back over there, and in good time it will start to form better quality material for use in the garden. So things are looking pretty clear in here now, and that space is going to be very useful. So at the moment my thoughts are staging over here, use this bed at the beginning of the season, and well, that'll be useful for growing seeds ready to plant, and then this will be storage for quite a lot longer than it normally is. I'm beginning to wonder whether I should move some staging I've got in the shed, which is sort of collapsing, give it a bit of a refurbish and bring it in here, and I can keep this bench ready for when I want to do seed sowing. Right, let's have a look. There you go, one very wobbly bench. I've had this years, it was given to me. It's been great. It just needs a bit of straightening and a bit of strengthening. And I think this might be the very first use for some of this wood that I gathered when we had our roof replaced. I don't want to use any large bits because, well, I've got sort of future plans for this, which I won't go into now, but I think probably a couple of bits like this could be used to strengthen that up. So I'll grab a couple of bits and see what we can do. Right, I think I'm making progress. So just put that down here for now. And this bench feels a trillion times stronger than it ever was. I'll put it in there, I don't want it to touch the polythene. I can go on the top. And then I've got an idea for this, which will enable me to move on a bit further in another area. If I could get this cold frame out of here, then that would give me an idea of what this space looks like to work with. I've got an awful lot of pots here, which I'm just going to empty, and then take all the pots that I've been storing in the cold frame and get them in and on that bench. That'll give me access to this. As I walked down the path, I was a bit astonished. I'll show you. is the path that I levelled a week or so back, just allowing it to settle now, and it's proving to be a good decision because I need to take a little bit more out of this end. But as you go down here, it is just absolutely full of tiny seedlings, and well, this whole soil area will just fill out with all these seedlings. Not sure what they are, but they're extremely prolific. So I need to get this area covered reasonably quick, otherwise I'll just be having to go over the top again, and it makes sense just to keep this bare if I can. Well, I just know I'll be faffing around with these pots for a long time, but it's a great winter's job when it's, well, either snowy or the ground's too hard outside and I can get in here and sort everything. But it's coming, and that nice sturdy bench will be very helpful. So I'm going to get rid of this little bit of compost onto that pile that you saw earlier, and then I'm going to pull a couple of carrots. Should be a high point. Right, well, I've stopped watering these altogether. They still look very lush, and I'm working on the basis that the carrots will still try and grow down to seek that water. So Mrs. K wanted 2 medium size or 1 large, so I don't know, what have I got? Let's have a look what's here. Let's get this one out. So I'm just going to move the soil away from the surface just to release a bit of a tension from it, and then just ease it out. There we are. Wow, what a beauty. They really are very rewarding to grow. And I don't grow too many in here, as you know, but the ones you get, they're pretty darn near perfect. So let's have this one. There we go. Another beautiful carrot. So 2 medium size she wanted, and 2 medium size she got. Well, these are some of the bits of membrane that I've got left, and I'm just thinking it might pay me just to cover this. I've got a long thin strip here, I think, and it might have some holes in it, but I can patch those. Yeah, it's got quite a lot of holes in it actually, but maybe double thickness will enable me to deal with the changing dimension of this path as I walk up it, and also cover the holes with a, if you like, a double layer. So I'm just going to faff around and see what I can create. Okay, I think that piece will go in well there, and all those holes that were in the membrane for the squash, they've just been covered up by folding it under. I folded it under rather than over because we'll constantly have chips going under it otherwise, so it's better to be folded under. So that's looking okay, and fortunately for me went the whole length, so I can sit in there for now. I'm not going to do a lot more with that space. Obviously now I won't get any weed growth. I'm thinking I might just see if I can stand this up. Got to be a bit careful because, well, my neck is healing, but it's not fantastic, and I had a big tooth out a couple of days ago, and that's got a bit of a throbbing sensation having come out, so I do need to be a bit careful. But I might just stand it on its end and see what I'm playing with. Well, I'm pretty confident that this isn't going to collapse when I try and pull it out, because, well, I made it, and I know that I spent a lot of time and I used some very thick wood, so fingers crossed. Move that one out of the way a little bit. I'm going to have to move these bits of the old cover because they will blow in the wind. Right, see if we've got any movement. Oh yes, easy. So I'm going to stand it up. There we go. and it is very solid. So I think I probably need some help to move this out of here, but I'm going to lean it against this for now. And I'll look around the plot, see if there's anybody who's willing to give me a hand. Note to self, don't hurt your neck. Would be nice to see it over there, get some sort of idea whether that idea of raised beds is worthwhile. Well, it turned out there was nobody who could help me, so it was very simple in the end. Because it's rigid, I just rolled it, made sure I didn't have to lift in any way. And it's very interesting to see it there, because it sort of feels good. I don't know how it's going to end up, but I think I quite like that. So who knows? Nothing permanent at the moment, but I've got a couple more of that sort of structure to move, and maybe I'll end up with an area of raised beds at the top there. Interesting. And that, of course, has left me a very big space over here. And I'm going to need that space because eventually I will be tipping that over and emptying it and getting rid of all the pallets that are underneath, which are breaking down and collapsing. So that is going to enable me to get in there and do some clearing up in the not too distant future. And it does seem sensible, since I've got this membrane here, just to cover this piece up in much the same way as I did the last one, just to keep weed growth down. And like the last one, this is quite long and got holes in it, so similar approach I think, and see if we can get it to go from here, where I do have a little bit of membrane that comes down here. I'll tuck it under that, and well, it's a bit like a jigsaw puzzle really, but let's see how I get on. Well, that's gone in fine as well. I think the good news is that the membrane that I was able to save from various spots around the plot will in fact cover all my intended new paths. So there is membrane under here. I just got to clear the weeds and the gathering of soil out, but yeah, that's pretty good. So that's all those areas covered. I need to just get some bricks on the end so that it doesn't blow up in any of the wind that's coming. But yeah, good times. Well, I do hope you've enjoyed today's video. It's been lots of little jobs, but they're all making their way towards my relocation from over there, or consolidation into this space. And it's going quite well. It's quite exciting really. Well, if you like my video, why not like and subscribe? And if you want to get my uploads every Wednesday and every Sunday at 8 p.m, then click on the bell and you'll be notified when they land. I hope you've had a good week and the weather's stayed reasonably kind for you. Diolch yn fawr.